Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Broken Brand. I'm your host, Stuart, and I'm here to give you a little update on what's going on in the world. Okay, today I'm bringing you an article from churchleaders.com where they kind of accumulated a bunch of information about Greta Gerwig being the new director for the Chronicles of Narnia for Netflix, and she states that she's intimidated and she feels slightly out of place directing this. And although I can't address how she feels now or what she feels about now, she claims to grown up Christian. Okay, I'll give her that. There's no problem with that. Based on her directorial catalog, I'm not impressed. I mean, Barbie wasn't terrible. I I enjoyed watching Barbie, but it was just like, oh my gosh, I felt attacked on like 20 different angles. I mean, from from being a man, being white, being Christian, being all these other things, I felt attacked by watching Barbie. But overall, when I pushed that aside, Barbie was not a terrible movie. I did enjoy it. Um, so why Netflix hired Greta to be the director of a Netflix series, The Chronicles of Narnia. I really don't know. I know Walden Media was a big proponent of the movies and like, we're here, we're going to do all the books of C.S. Lewis, and they let us down. They really did. What, we got three movies out of seven? Three movies based on the books out of the seven books there are. So, Walden, you let us down. And I understand it's kind of like the premise that we see with Stranger Things and Netflix. It's taken so much time and the characters, but I mean, if Walden Media started with Silver Chair or The Magician's Nephew instead of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, which was published first, but chronologically not the first book that you would read if you want to read straight through chronologically. So they could have successfully done it with the current actors if they planned it out better. But with Greta, it's like, okay, I don't know her faith, I don't know her standing, what she says, and a lot of the articles I've read and just things I've seen basically surrounding Barbie, you couldn't have told me she was a Christian to begin with, much less even Catholic. But hey, who am I to judge on her current faith? That's not my position. Her actions say she's not the person I would pick. Well, who would I pick to direct the Chronicles of Narnia, you say? Well, just off the top of my head, Eric Till, Alex Kendrick, Phil Vishner, Mel Gibson, Ralph Winter, Martha Williamson, Devon Franklin, Karen Koval, Timothy Che, Rich Cristiano, Dallas Jenkins, Kevin Sorbo, Dean Kane, Chuck Conselman, just to name a few off the top of my head that are Christian directors and know how to direct a Christian movie based on Christian material. I'm just saying there's a few directors out there I would have picked. Picking Greta is like, oh, she made this Barbie movie, so she's hot. She's a hot commodity. That's like, hey, J.J. Abrams is a hot commodity, so we're gonna get him into Star Wars. And we all know how that ended, didn't we? Don't we? Oh yes. How many movies has J.J. Abrams done since Star Trek and Star Wars? His last major release was Super 8 outside those properties. I mean, come on. Just because someone is the hot ticket does not mean they're the best person for the project. So, yes, she should feel intimidated. Because I don't know how she feels going into this, but if you aren't coming at this with a pure love for C.S. Lewis and a pure love for the Chronicles of Narnia, it's not going to end well. Netflix, you've got a potential bonfire on your hands. I look back, and I'm not 100% if Peter Jackson is a Christian or a true believer in Jesus Christ, but he was a true fan of Lord of the Rings. And I've seen Peter Jackson's previous movies. If you've seen his movies prior to Lord of the Rings, you literally have to question why the studios ever gave him a chance. Although I can't remember the name, that whole puppet movie. Oh, that was a disturbing movie on so many levels. I mean, literally, I was introduced to it in college. They're like, "Hey, have you seen this movie? This is Peter Jackson's movie prior to doing Lord of the Rings." I'm like, huh? I wouldn't have given Peter Jackson the time of day. Um, but will Greta do a good job? I'm going to say no. With the addendum that if she is a true fan of the Chronicles of Narnia, it might be okay. I don't think it will be great. Don't get me wrong. Greta will not do a great job of the Chronicles of Narnia. She's not a current professing believer whose faith has kind of defined who she is, but more her activism has defined who she is. And when you put activism and Christianity together, Christianity disappears. Activism always takes over because it's play to the love of man than play to the love of God. Every single time. So I hope it'll be good. But I'm going to watch it probably because I have no choice but my OCD to watch it. But I don't think it will rise above the quality of the late 70s, early 80s series done by the BBC in telling of the Chronicles of Narnia. They're not great. They're kind of whoo. They're not great, but they're okay. They're fun, but they're not good. I think Greta, with a lot of oversight by someone else other than her, might get it to the level of the BBC series of the Chronicles of Narnia. So until we actually see what's presented to us, I just gotta say we gotta cross our fingers, pray every day that this activist doesn't ruin a beloved series that so many of us love, that I love, my kids love. We have multiple copies of the entire series in my personal library, each one of my kids' libraries. Everyone has a copy of the Chronicles of Narnia. So I hope it's good, but I will not be holding my breath and thinking it is going to be acceptable and living up to the legacy of C.S. Lewis. So I'm very skeptical, but I will hold out hope that for some reason beyond all of the arrows pointing in this direction, that it turns out to be good. So we'll just have to see what comes about it. Until then, I love you all. There's not a thing you can do about it.